Winston Churchill was not only a great statesman, but also a master of wit. In debates, dinners, and chance encounters, he delivered sharp comebacks that left his rivals stunned and audiences roaring with laughter. Here are some of the cleverest stories of Churchill's biting humor. In the grand dining hall of Blenheim Palace, Lady Nancy Astor, the first woman to sit in the House of Commons, was sparring with Churchill. The two had been clashing all evening over women's rights and other liberal causes Astor championed with zeal. Churchill opposed her at every turn, and tempers flared. Finally, in exasperation, Lady Astor snapped, "Winston, if I were married to you, I'd put poison in your coffee." Churchill set down his glass, looked her in the eye, and said, "And if I were your husband, I'd drink it." One evening in Parliament, Churchill's heavy drinking was as obvious as his booming voice. Lady Astor, never one to let him pass unchallenged, grew tired of his brandy-fueled remarks. In front of colleagues, she exclaimed, "Winston, you are drunk!" Without hesitation, Churchill shot back, "And you, madam, are ugly. But tomorrow I shall be sober." George Bernard Shaw, master of theatre and wit, often tested Churchill with his sharp tongue. When inviting him to the premiere of his play St. Joan, Shaw sent a note with 2 tickets and a sting. "One for yourself and one for a friend, if you have one." Churchill sent back his regrets, adding his own twist. "Cannot possibly attend the first night. Will attend the second, if there is one." After one of Churchill's famously long, thunderous speeches in Parliament, Shaw listened with folded arms. At the end, he dryly remarked to those around him, "Winston has the gift of sending a sentence roaring like thunder and ending it with a drop like rain." This time, it was Shaw's turn to win the round. Even Churchill couldn't better that line. Churchill's great rival, Clement Attlee, was the opposite of Winston in every way. Quiet, modest, unassuming. One afternoon, as Attlee arrived at Parliament, Churchill watched from a window and couldn't resist. With a sly grin, he remarked, "An empty taxi drew up and out stepped Clement Attlee." Later, when U.S. President Harry Truman met Attlee, he described him generously as a modest fellow. Churchill, hearing this, couldn't resist twisting the knife. "He has much to be modest about." Stanley Baldwin, another Conservative Prime Minister, never escaped Churchill's biting tongue. Once someone asked Churchill what should be done if Baldwin died suddenly while in office. Without hesitation, Churchill replied, "Embalm, bury, and cremate. Take no chances." During the war, Churchill stayed at the White House as a guest of Franklin D. Roosevelt. One morning, the president wheeled himself into Churchill's bedroom unannounced, only to find the British Prime Minister standing stark naked in the middle of the room. Roosevelt, embarrassed, began to apologize. Churchill, completely unflustered, raised his arms and declared, "You see, Mr. President, we British have nothing to hide." Even naked, Winston's wit was fully dressed. Charlie Chaplin was an occasional guest at Churchill's home. After dinner, he would amuse the family with pantomime and mimicry. One evening, Churchill asked if Chaplin had chosen his next role. Chaplin, with a straight face, replied, "Yes, Jesus Christ." Churchill didn't miss a beat. "Have you cleared the rights?" Churchill's figure was often the subject of teasing, and he rarely let such moments pass without firing back. Once, a fellow member of Parliament patted his ample belly and teased, "Tell me, Winston, what are you going to call it?" Churchill didn't hesitate. "If it's a boy, I'll name him after the prince. If it's a girl, after the Queen Mother. But if, as I suspect, it's just a large gaseous mass, I'll name it after you, sir." Churchill's heavy eyelids often betrayed him in the Commons. Once, during a particularly dull speech by a rival, his eyes closed and his chin dropped. The speaker, annoyed, barked across the chamber, "Must you fall asleep while I am speaking?" Churchill slowly opened one eye and replied, "No, it is purely voluntary." Churchill was famously cynical about democracy, even as he defended it. When asked to comment on the wisdom of the system, he mused aloud, "The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter." One day, Churchill was being driven through London when he realized they were in an unfamiliar part of the city. He opened the car window and called to a passerby, "Excuse me, sir. Could you tell me where I am?" The man glanced at him and answered curtly, "You are in a car," before walking away. Churchill leaned back in his seat and sighed. An answer worthy of Parliament, absolutely correct and absolutely useless. Even being lost turned into political theatre. On his 80th birthday, Churchill posed for photographers, cigar in hand. A young cameraman nervously said, "I hope I will be here to photograph you again on your 100th birthday." Churchill looked him up and down, then smiled. "I don't see why not, young man. You look reasonably fit to me.